Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing the Freein stand-up paddleboard, inflatable stand-up paddleboard. Purchased two of these off of Amazon, one for myself, one for my wife. Believe they were about $370. This is not the 11-footer, this is the 10-foot 2 version. And I wanted to, there's not very many reviews on them, so I wanted to do an unboxing, and then tomorrow we're going to take them out on the river, and then I'll provide some final thoughts. So let's get started. All right, let's go through some of the contents. First, your manual, a few different languages. Oh, actually, no, this is all English. You have your fin. And one good thing is it does come with a spare clip, and we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. You have your pump. And this is a high capacity two-way pump. It does have a plug that you can use to get more air in early on, and then take that off, and then just finish it up with a high pressure. Show you that. Patch kit. Most places do not come with one specific thing that you need for a patch kit. So in here you've got a couple different color patches, two of them, and you have a wrench to change out your valve. However, one major thing that's missing in the majority of these inflatable paddle boards is the glue. So make sure you find some of that, which I will be finding for myself very soon. Like the container, this could probably be used for a number of different things. Seems pretty watertight. You can use it to store all kinds of stuff. Leash. It does have padding on the inside. It is a swivel, so that's nice. It's not going to get all tangled up on you. Really heavy duty Velcro, which is good. Really heavy duty. Looks pretty nice. Oh, both ends do swivel, so that's good. The board itself, fairly light compared to some of the others that I've used. All right, paddle. I'll show somebody on that in a minute. This one does come with a 20-liter dry bag. These are very handy, and we'll open it up and see what the quality on that guy. And last is a pack. We'll start here. So the pack, not insanely thick. I use these more for storage than anything, storage when you're not using it. It does have padded, nice wide straps. I personally have not had to carry these very far, so I've never used backpack straps on any of the paddleboard bags. It does have a waist belt as well, so it looks like it would be somewhat comfortable on a longer hike in. Again, this is fairly thin, and it does have a little bit of padding on the back, but if the paddle or if the pump are jabbing in your back, you're definitely going to feel it. On the sides, you do have two cinch straps, so once you get it all packed up, you can sit you down to alleviate movement. It's got a side handle. This is my handle of choice when I'm carrying these things. In fact, I think a lot of this is probably going to get in the way. I might find a way to secure this somehow so I'm not tripping on it or dragging it. And then it does have a handle on the top, so two handles. Alright, let's check out the paddle. Now I'm not expecting too much out of these paddles. I mean, this is a fairly inexpensive paddleboard. And from what I've been hearing from a lot of people is when they purchase these inexpensive paddleboards, one of the first things they upgrade is the paddle itself. A lot of concern with, do these float? Some of the lower price, actually, you drop it and it ends up sinking. So I'm looking here, this has some type of shrink wrap around this connection here, around the screw. And then on the inside, it's filled with foam, like a foam plug or some sort. So this should float. We'll find out tomorrow. On the other side, typical connection. Push in here, slide it together, and it pops out. Seems pretty strong. The top, you can adjust the height or the length, if you will. That's not, I can compress it if I really want to. Looks like you can tighten this this latch a little bit, but doesn't look too bad. Comfort-wise, plastic handle. It is contoured to fit your hand, so that's pretty comfortable, but I mean, it's obviously pretty cheap plastic. We'll see how long that lasts. All right, back to it. So we got the fin. Again, I mentioned that it does come with a spare clip. Now this is not the, and I can't, forgive me if I butcher this term, this is the non-standard US connection. I've seen some others with this, so I mean, if you really have to track down a new clip or a new fin, you could probably do it. But from what I've seen, this is the non-standard. I'll put more information, I'm sure, on the screen right about now. It's very heavy for a fin and extremely strong. There is no flex to this thing whatsoever. It seems very, very durable. I don't know how true that is. We'll find out. But it's, let's see how big this thing is. So it hangs down about 8.5 inches. Once it's in the board, probably closer to 8 inches, which should give you pretty good tracking, pretty good stability. We will see. But I was kind of surprised how heavy for the size of this thing. It's got some weight to it. I don't know if there's maybe something on the inside, because it feels like it's too heavy just to be out of this plastic. It feels like there might be some type of structure, some type of metal on the inside. But looks pretty good. Looks like it'll survive. We do paddleboard. The river that we paddleboard down has a ton of shallow areas, like ankle deep. So I'm sure I'm gonna put this to the test tomorrow. And I'm going to go ahead and put my spare clip in my repair kit. All right, so this does come with another tie here that you can secure it nice and tight prior to putting it in the bag, which is great. I've heard mixed reviews on how tight you should actually pack a deflated paddleboard. Some say you want to leave it a little bit loose, temperature changes, and it expanding and contracting. But either way, I think this will be nice. Should come in handy. All right, here we go. All right, first reactions. Looks like a typical paddleboard. It's feels very sturdy. The pad here doesn't seem quite as soft as a lot of them that I've used. It feels a little thin. Feels like you would have good grip. It's got this weird diamond plate looking texture to it. But we'll see once I air it up. It doesn't seem doesn't provide a whole lot of cushion. So if you're somebody who likes to sit on these or kneel on these or do yoga or whatever, this may not be as soft as some of the others that you've tried. It does have handle here, So they've got this neoprene cover on here, which makes the handle nice and soft. But if they had made that just a few inches bigger, you'd be able to attach your paddle. While you're carrying it, you could shove that under there and you could attach your paddle. But that might be a bit of a stretch. Oh, I might get it. Yeah. No, I don't think it's designed to work that way. It's just a little bit, I mean, even another inch and a half, and this would have been a great paddle holder. So when you're carrying it, you don't have to worry about carrying this separate. Something to think about. I'm sure I could find another one of these that's a little bit bigger. But it is soft to the hand, so that will be nice when carrying it. Use this as a pointer. So why did I choose this one? Well, first of all, price point. Some of these, as many of you know, can get extremely expensive, upwards of $1,200, $1,500, $2,000. I'm just a hobbyist, get out every now and then. I don't feel comfortable spending that much money on something I don't do very often. So I'm hoping with the limited use and proper care, these things will last a while for me. A few things I was looking for when I purchased the board, and we'll talk about these more as I get it inflated. Actually, let's go ahead and get it inflated, and then we'll talk more about why I chose this board. All right, so this is the fun part. And what I will do hopefully without dying, is time how long it takes me to air this thing up. Some of the faster ones say ready to go in 5 minutes. I tend to take a little longer than that because I do have some back problems, and being in bent over position does bother me. But we'll see what we can do. All right, typical paddleboard setup here. It's got the usual little twist on setup. Seems pretty strong. Little button there, screw in there that pushes in the valve. And here's your valve, just like most paddle boards. This one does have the push. You push in, turn it to lock it. So that way whenever you go to deflate it, you don't have to sit here and hold that in. All the air will come out. Make sure whenever you go to air it up, you push this in and you let it pop up. And that'll create the seal when you take the hose off. If you leave that pushed in, you take the hose off, all that air is going to want to come out. So let's attach this guy, or gal. All right, so we're connected. I'm just going to leave the plastic on the bottom for right now. My floor is pretty clean, but I really don't want to puncture these things before I even get them on the water. I will start a timer, and we will see how long this takes. All right, so I'm going to take this to the bottom of its scale. So it does say pressure 15 to 18 psi. So I'm going to take this to 15 psi. We'll see how long that takes. It's already pretty warm in here, so this should be interesting. All right, here we go. May get pretty close in 5 minutes. It's hot in here. All right, 5 minutes. We are about 11 and a half, 12 psi, so we're actually pretty close. I'm gonna keep going to 15. Here we go. 15 PSI and about 630. So not bad. Not bad for these cheap pumps. Couple notes. It was pretty stable. It's got a nice wide platform. I was able to keep it okay. On rocks and stuff, it may be a little bit of an issue. One thing I really liked is the gauge here on top. I've seen some of the gauges here. I've seen some gauges on the bottom. This is very easy to read as you're pumping because when you're starting to get lightheaded and moving around a lot, it's still easy to see. It's color coded all the way up to 12 is in the yellow, 12 to 15 is green, 15 to 17 is orange, and above 17 to 21 is in the red. Obviously don't go there. All right, so if I did this right, I should be able to just disconnect this and the air will stay inside. Just like that. Whew, I'm sweating. All right, plug goes back in, locks in nicely. And there you have it. Nice looking board. All right, so I'll go over some of the features. And a lot of these are why I chose this board. Last weekend I rented a very nice board. It was about, I looked it up, it's about $1,200 retail. And it didn't have a single tie down. So we're going down the river. We went about 8 miles or so, coolers and dry bags and life vests and everything. And I had nowhere to put anything, so I had to put all my stuff on somebody else's. So I vowed, if I'm gonna get one, it's gonna have plenty of places to tie stuff down. And this one does. A lot of them come with just bungees up front. I wanted either more bungees in the back or something on the sides. And I found this one, which has the 6 D-rings on the sides, as well as 1 D-ring here. Obviously that's more for your leash. But this, for me, is plenty. I should be able to tie down everything I need to. Starting at the front, this one actually does have, this one a little bit, a GoPro mount, which I thought was pretty cool. So this is an actual official GoPro mount, but any of the generic ones will work just fine. And this just pops right in. So that's nice. Next, bungees, a definite must in my opinion, because you got to be able to tie stuff down if you're going, especially point to point. You want to tie stuff down, dry bags, coolers, life vests, whatever. So this is nice. Bungee material, I mean, it's a little loose, but gives you the option to tie a whole lot of stuff down underneath there. Looking at the D-rings and how they're attached, everything looks attached very well. One thing that I have noticed, and I'm sure you guys have as well, when you order a lot of these Chinese products, they're put together with very strong adhesives, but the adhesives also are very strong smelling. There's been a couple items that I've actually had to leave out in the garage just because the adhesives were so strong. I'm not getting that with this. I'm not getting any solvent, any adhesive smells, nothing that's going to be repulsive by any means. Moving down the side here, you can see some extra layers that they've put on the side. This says carbon fiber, and it looks like this piece is carbon fiber, but it also looks like the carbon fiber piece goes from here to here. So I'm not exactly sure the purpose of this. Looks cool, I guess, but you can see where it starts and where it ends. I don't know. It's fancy. All the seams look good. Moving back, I still haven't figured out what this raised heel pad is for. I've seen a lot of them. This one has it. This one's not as tall as some, but it has it. So if you use it for something, then it has it. I don't know what it's for. Moving back. So all of this tag and everything that you see here, hopefully you can see it. It's all in rubber. So I mean, it's raised. It's not going to fade. It's not going to rip off and go away. So you're always going to have this information on here. And then attached to that is another D-ring. I'm assuming Most people would attach their leash to here. That's what I will do. And then when you're not using it, you just run your leash to your handle. And last, and one thing that I have noticed on a lot of the more inexpensive paddle boards is lack of handles. And when you're moving these things around and you're loading them into vehicles and you're pulling them up on the beach and stuff, handles are great. When they don't have handles, they're kind of hard to move. I really wish this had a front handle, but hey, I'll take a back handle. It's really soft, seems really comfortable. The seals are all really good, or seams rather. So that's the top. Let's flip it over and get to the bottom. All right, this one has 2 permanent fins. I've heard good and bad about the permanent fins, especially these rubber ones that tend to flex a little bit, because if you roll it up incorrectly and you put too much weight on these and you leave it for a long period of time, those will eventually just kind of fold over. This one's got a little bit of a fold to it from being in the package, but not too bad. What's great about these, I think, and we'll try it out tomorrow, is if you're in too shallow of water to have that 8-inch fin on there, you can take that off and still have some way of tracking without destroying that fin. So we'll see if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I like it. I'm glad they're here. They seem very durable. They do have some flex, so if you do hit rocks and things like that, it seems like they would just be okay. Doesn't look like they're going anywhere. However, these are permanently attached with sealants and everything else. If you break one of these, I don't think you're going to find a replacement. I don't think you're going to be able to put one on there. Food for thought. All right, let's look at this thing. And I'm actually going to bring you down here. All right, so as I mentioned, this has a different, this is not the, pardon my terms usage, US standard fin box. I'm not exactly sure if this has a name, but how it works is you've got 2 little feet on here and you've got a little hole here. So that drops down into there and then it slides forward, maybe. Yep, so drops in, slides forward. Then this guy pushes down and you lock it into place like that. I mean, it's in there. Then to release, pull this up, pull this out, pull this out. Again, pop in, slide forward, down, lock. Pretty good, I think. I like that they've included a new latch. So this is that new latch that's in the bag there that I put in my repair kit. It's got a single screw and this thing will pop out. Imagine they include that because this could be a little flimsy. Feels fairly strong, but I think being caught on the wrong thing while you're loading, unloading something, it could break off. But I don't know. Seems like it works okay. So this is kind of my plan for tomorrow. Like I said, I like tie downs. I like cold beverages. And this soft-sided cooler here seems to be just the right size to be able to hook to these D-rings. I had planned, and what a lot of people use is these Orions. They're small, they have a padded top. What's great is when you secure it there, if you want to sit down, you can. My only concern is these things are pretty heavy, and I don't know once I get it loaded down with beverages how that's going to be. If this is going to be too top heavy. So I'm going to try this guy first, see how that does. I obviously can't sit on it, but I think having a little bit of weight in the front, a little bit of weight in the back, and me standing, you know, kind of straddling the handle here, I think that should be good. The center of balance won't be too high with this cooler. So we'll try that. Plus it's watertight. It should work out good. Yeah, so this is how I plan to set it up for tomorrow. I do have some more D-rings if I choose to tie something else on here, which I shouldn't need, but we will see. All right, well, that's part 1, I guess. And tomorrow we'll get out and have some fun. So my intent was to come back after that first trip and give my thoughts. Turns out we've done 3 trips since I recorded the initial part of that video. Each trip about 7 to 8 miles, so we've probably got 9, 10 plus hours on these paddle boards. Got a few thoughts on them. I got some pros and cons, and then I got kind of a middle of the road category as well. We'll start with the pros. The size of these things are great. They're 10'2" is plenty long. The width though is fantastic. So I've used a number of different widths, some maybe 4 or 5 inches more narrow than these, and stability was definitely an issue. With these, there's no issue at all. Super stable. You know, if you haven't paddle boarded before, it takes a little getting used to, but very stable. Like I said, the length is great. Especially, I like to inflate mine at the house, throw them in the back of the truck, and then that way you're not having to do it there. So they're not hanging out too far behind the back of the truck. Build quality on these is fantastic. Looking at the seams, you know, even after a third use, whenever I get home and I wipe them down and wash them off, I always do a quick look, and seams are all holding up great. No delamination of anything. I guess the only real thing that I've noticed whenever I am cleaning these things up is that the white foam pad that you stand on or kneel on. As you can see, there's quite a bit of dirt and silt in the river here, and getting that on your shoes, I've noticed a little bit of staining. I'm sure just a little bit of OxyClean or something would get that right off. But another pro is those tie downs. You can see I've got coolers strapped on, plenty of tie downs. They work great, really strong. I haven't had any issues. I'm hoping to continue not to have any issues. So again, that was another reason why we wanted to buy these specific boards, and glad we got these. Like I said, I have a kind of a middle of the road between the pros and the cons. I'm just not thrilled with, and I'm not completely disappointed, and that's the pump. The pump did its job, but if there's one thing in this entire package that I think is going to fail, I wouldn't say in the near future, but definitely in the future, it's going to be that pump. The feet are kind of a cheaper plastic. I can see one of those things snapping off if you put a little too much torque one direction. So I think eventually my goal is to get a 12-volt pump that you can preset the pressure and just hit a button and it does it on its own from your car battery. But until then, I'll keep using this pump until it gives out. So again, that's kind of middle of the road. It works. It's just not the best quality, and I have a feeling that'll be one of the first things to go. All right, into the cons. First and foremost is this paddle. I am not a fan at all. It just feels very cheap in the hand. It works, don't get me wrong. As you can see in the videos, it works. It just feels extremely cheap, especially that very top piece that you hold, the light blue piece. I think if you were to drop that on a rock, just kind of in the wrong position, I think it could easily crack or break. It just feels very cheap to me. So after our second trip, I got my hands on a higher end paddle, carbon fiber paddle, and absolutely love it, and I'll continue to use the different paddle. It's nice to have this as a backup. On the other end, my wife actually prefers this paddle. She's tried that other carbon fiber paddle I picked up, and she actually prefers this paddle. So you may like it, you may not. It's definitely not my cup of tea. Second con item is going to be that bag. Great for storage, just in the garage, keeps the dirt off of it, keeps everything in one spot. But that thing is super thin. I wouldn't just put that thing on my back and try to get too far with it. I don't see it lasting. I think, you know, the fin or the paddle or the pump or something could probably easily push through that thin fabric. But as a storage bag, works great. And then last is the length of the fin. Now, probably the majority of you guys, it's not going to affect you. The Rio Grande River has some really shallow spots, shallow as, you know, ankle, knee deep. A lot of sandbars, things like that, and so you can be moving right along, and that fin stick into a sandbar, and it brings you to a stop. Well, at least brings a paddleboard to a stop. You keep going, but the paddleboard stops. So I would love to be able to track down a like a 5-inch fin. It's just the 8-inch is just for what we're doing is it's just a lot. Now, once we get into monsoon season and the water rises, it won't be an issue. But right now in the middle of summer, we're pretty dry, so it's kind of a pain in the butt. We do have to get out from time to time and have to pick up the back end and walk for a little bit. But so I'm going to continue to try to track down a shorter fin. So I had mentioned in the initial video that it does have the 2 small, maybe 2-inch rubber fins that are permanently on there. You can go without the 8-inch fin. It just doesn't track well. So as you paddle to the right, it's going to spin you. Then you go over and you paddle to the left. So you're just constantly, you know, kind of weaving. You know, you can't track well. You can't hold a steady line. You're just kind of going back and forth and back and forth. In a pinch, works great. It's better than not having anything at all. But I would really like to get my hands on, you know, a smaller 5-inch fin or so. Overall, especially for the price of this thing, like I said, I've used paddle boards that cost up to $2,000. I think this is right up there with it. Accessories, that's probably the weak point of this, but you know what, I'm not buying. I didn't buy this board for the accessories. I bought it for the board, and I can always replace the accessories. So I'm definitely a fan and highly recommend it. You know, if I was to give you guys a rating or Amazon rating, it'd probably, you know, be 4.5 out of 5. And that's nothing against the board itself. The board itself is definitely a 5 out of 5. It's the pieces that come with it that kind of bring it down a little bit. So that's my review of the Freein 10'2" paddleboard from Amazon. Like I said, I paid about $360, $370 for this. Arrived at my house in, I think, 3 days. Highly recommend it, especially for the price point, and hope you guys enjoyed.